today's session is really about creating a new reality to be more aligned with your well-being. We want to create a reality that feels aligned with your happiness, with where you want to go. So this was maybe a month ago. I was in a yoga class, and when I walked into the studio, the teacher didn't acknowledge me when I walked in. And I was went to my little yoga mat, and I was looking around at when other people were joining in, and she was acknowledging them. And I was like, what about me does she not like? What's going on here? And then they were doing our poses and stuff, and she was going around and she seemed to help other people and look and give comments to other people, but she was not going around me. And so I was like, this bitch doesn't like me. She is ignoring me. What the fuck? Right. And I was starting to get really angry and irritated and starting to become more aware of all her interactions with other people. And I was really feeling I wanted to leave the place. And that is when I was like, okay, I've got to stop. I got to stop what's happening right here, because I could kind of feel you could see into the future. I could see how this class was going to play out if I kept going with these thoughts, because I was starting to be well, I'm not going to be nice back. I'm not going to say bye. I'm going to be fake nice when I see her if I have to say something. Right. And I could see how this was going to play out, because I love this studio. It's helped my back problems, my neck problems so much. This place has been one of the most incredible experiences for me physically. And I could see how I would not want to come to her classes anymore with this thought, and how I wouldn't want to come to this studio. And so I was like, I got to stop, because this experience that I'm having within myself is not in line with my overall well-being, with where I want to go. I'm not feeling no longer present in my body, which is why I'm there. I'm not feeling good with my community, which is why I'm there. And so I was like, okay, let me think of something else. What else can I think right here? And I thought, you know what? I have no idea what's on this woman's mind. I have no idea. And I just have to keep telling myself, I have no idea. Just keep staying in the body. I have no idea. So oftentimes we feel like we need to achieve something, and we have a certain vision of what success is in our mind. So that could be, a business or getting a job or what have you. So if you guys don't mind sharing, what are some things that you feel okay, I am successful when this is what success means to me. This is when I will feel successful. What does that look like? Maybe Rosie, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, thank you, Alicia. I'm still enjoying your story about the beach story. But I think this question, to me personally, I will have so many different layers, because successful can be career, can be life. But if we are talking about life example, I think successful to me is I'm very happy, and I can be whichever country I want to be, and then just work and also have fun at my own goal. I think it will be a successful life to me. But I'm curious to hear everyone.
Yes, thank you. What about you, Shannon? What does success mean for you? What does that mean?
I think sometimes I define it as money and I look at it as titles, but I think when I really think about it, it's being happy. I think because I have a fancy, well, not super fancy, but I have a title now and I make okay money now, but I'm not happy because I don't feel in alignment with helping people or doing things that I want to do. So I think I think I would feel successful if I was more in alignment with my values and what I want to do.
Yes. Yeah. What about you, Memo? You don't have to say you have to be in alignment. You can be money and bitches, whatever it means for you. Top of mind, whatever comes for you. Your honest feeling about what success means for you.
Yeah, I would just say that education, having
Mm.
being financially secure, having the family, those kind of things.
Yeah. Yes. And so the thing is like oftentimes you guys are real elevated. Obviously, you've been working with me. So we have these topics. We have these topics in mind already, right? But often we have like, okay, I will success is like getting this job that I want, living in this house that I want, having my business like run well, right? And what we really want when we have the money, the career, the business is exactly what you guys shared, which is happiness, safety, love, right? So you guys already went here. Like, what will this make you feel? When we think about getting the job we want or getting the client or getting my speaking career up and running, then I will feel happy. But what we're talking about is how do we like skip all of those steps and just be happy? Because that's where we're trying to go, right? You guys said it yourself. I want to be happy. But you guys are also wanting to achieve things. You guys are all very like thoughtful and ambitious people. So we can get lost in the thoughts of like, I won't be happy until I get this thing, or I'm not going to feel confident in myself until someone tells me I did a good job. I'm not going to feel confident until I get the job, or somebody tells me that I move up in my position at work. So what if we can skip all that and just start to be happy now? And what if we are in this happy and well-being state? And while we're in this state, then we are achieving those things. Then we are going into the job with that state of mind. We're going into our teaching job with that feeling and that state of being, right? And if you're, of course, you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's what I want, dude. Like, I'm trying. How? Right? It seems so easy. Wow, let's just be happy while we're doing it. Well, well-being. And the definition of well-being is the state of being comfortable, healthy, and happy. Well-being comes from small choices that are not easy for you. Small, day to day. It's not in the big things. It's the small little moments in your day. That's why we've been doing 5-day challenges, noticing in your day to day where you can make a little bit of a different decision. So making these small choices aren't easy because it's not the way your brain normally does things. It's not the way you typically go through your day. You have a very set way of doing things. Your mind likes to do things in the way and think the way it's been doing it because it saves your mind calories. It saves your mind energy. It's like, oh, conserve, do it this one way. So it's not easy. Everything that I share with you is always simple, but not easy to do. So how do we start to build some of the energy to actually take these actions that are not easy? We need to know the pain of the why. Why do we want to be happy, right? You guys all shared, I want to be happy. I want to live in alignment. Probably because you've had some painful experiences in the past where you're like, I need to prioritize my well-being over waiting to feel happy because I get something else or I get the job or whatever, right? If you feel comfortable, Rosie, do you mind sharing any sort of painful experience in the past that made you feel like, okay, I just want to be happy. I don't need I don't want to have a job, or I don't want like something to wait to be happy. I want to just like make that a priority in my life. Has there ever been a painful experience for you that's like, oh no, I need to prioritize this?
It's a good question. I think it would be back to when I had my first intern experience at San Francisco for the UX UI designer role, and I had a really super fancy expectation of how the intern would be because it's in Silicon Valley, all the things, but that experience was not really good, and it was just brutally painful, and also I experienced certain level of racial discrimination and also language discrimination. So at that moment, I did feel like maybe I should just start pursuing being a designer and also maybe just not doing anything design related because I had been told that I was not good at it. I won't be able to do it just because I don't know how to create components. It's very painful experience. So
Mm.
there would be that part.
Yes, thanks for sharing that. Every time you've told me these stories about language discrimination, it pisses me the fuck off. Like I'm just like, punch someone.
Yeah, right. But
Um,
yeah,
sorry. Yes.
no, it's
Thanks for
yeah.
sharing that experience though. Yeah, you want, okay, like this is so painful. I want to focus more on my well-being and my own confidence, my own inner confidence, not making my inner confidence be shattered every time someone says something to me that doesn't feel good. Maybe, right? Like you want to build your own happiness regardless of what's happening outside of yourself. Anybody else? Would you want to share a painful experience that made you realize like, I want to prioritize well-being over like traditional success metrics?
I mean, for me, we've talked about this before. One was some of my not personal death experiences. I haven't died yet, but
You still here, girl? We got you. We happy you're here.
No, I was in the room when my father-in-law passed, and I think that was an experience that really set off like what do you want? We all got to talk to him individually before he passed, and one thing he kept saying was, he's like, time. You think you have so much time, and it just keeps speeding up. And like he's like, it just continues to go faster and faster and faster and faster. And just thinking about like, yeah, this one precious life, what is it like? What does it mean to have well-being, to feel good, to be able to lay there at the end and be like, that was a good run. You know, I'll be sad to leave, but like that was a good run. And realizing it wasn't like the job title or, you know, certain things that I would look back on, like, thank God I made creative director. Like, you know, I don't think that's what I would sit there and think about at the end.
I love this story because we all have that like, oh, you know, we've heard that story of people being like, yeah, when you're in your deathbed, you're not going to worry about the job, but you got to like experience the deathbed. Like that's not just like a saying we all hear like, oh yeah, sure. You saw someone. And I think, you know, I'm going to just share this from the last time you told me this story was that this person was satisfied in their life. Like you got to see someone pass who was satisfied with their life. And that is so not many people get to experience that and to get some wisdom from that experience at that stage of death or life, you know, and what a beautiful experience to have. So I think that has been, we've talked about that being your why. And you have to remember these emotional whys because those are going to be the drivers. That's why our pain is a driver. Our pain is a good thing. It makes us do things. Makes us do shit we don't want to do. Or we're like, oh, and I've shared with you guys before in the past, my like hatred, extreme hatred to myself every time I would do a speaking gig, a big speaking gig, I would have a lot of self-hate and how painful that was. So I was like, oh, I need to prioritize my health, my well-being. So what I want you to first acknowledge is that you're cray. Acknowledge you cray. Okay. What does this mean? We all live in our own delusion. We all live in our own stories within our mind. We all have a specific lens that we see life through based on our experience, based on our parents, based on stories we've heard people say, based on media, based on society, right? There's so many stories that we haven't chosen that we see our lives through. So we need to acknowledge that we have our own delusion. Everyone does. That's why we like to keep a lot of our inside thoughts on the inside. Because I'm not going to go over to that yoga instructor and be like, I don't think you like me because you didn't acknowledge me when I walked into the studio and you were giving everyone else attention, but you weren't giving it to me. So I think you don't like me. I'm not going to say that for a few reasons, right? Like confrontation is intense, especially in a yoga studio. And maybe, she would deny it, but like, there's another big factor here. I don't want to tell her those things because I don't want to look like the crazy bitch, because there is a fat chance that all that shit was made up in my head. There is a big chance that all that I was thinking about was made up in my head. So I would never bring that up to her because I'd be like, it could be just crazy thoughts. And I know that this is true because there's one person in my life that I share all my inside thoughts on the outside with, and that's my husband, right? We share our inside thoughts on the outside. So he will come home and be like, we'll be interacting. And later on, he's like, so are you mad at me? And I'm like, huh? Why? He's like, oh, you didn't like come say hi to me. And then you like looked at your computer when I said this. And I think, are you mad at me? I'm like, what? No, I'm just busy. I'm just doing my own thing. Stop being so sensitive. No, I'm not like that. But I don't do that to him. But we have a lot of talks around this, which is such a beautiful experience to have because you can start to see like, oh yeah, a lot of my internal thoughts, and this person I know so well. There's no one I know more than him. There's no one he knows more than me, yet we still have the cross wires and like what our realities are in the same situation. We are seeing the life differently. So can you just imagine how different I am seeing this yoga instructor from her world? I have no idea what's happening in her mind and her reality. No fucking clue. I only know what's happening in my mind. And there's a lot of crazy shit happening in here. And that's all I know. I can only handle what's happening here. So when we can start to acknowledge, I'm a little cray, I'm a little delusional, we can then remove some of that emotional charge and intensity that's happening when I'm like feeling judgment, anger, like all of this stuff. If I just stop and be like, I don't know, maybe this is a delusion, it changes that experience a little bit, right? It changes that emotional charge. We're just feeling creatures doing things because we feel something. So if we can change the way we feel, we can change the things we do. This action in itself, I'm a little cray, allows me to give like a different choice now in this situation. You guys ever heard happy wife, happy life? I know, Memo, you're married. Maybe you go by this sometimes, like happy wife, happy life. And this saying comes from when the guy's like, I don't know if this is right, but okay, you're right, babe. Let's do it your way. Does anyone not know happy wife, happy life, the saying? I try to tell it to my husband, like, happy wife, happy life, right? I try to inseminate that into his mind. But what I want you to think about is, can you think about being the kind of begrudging husband to your happiness? Like, you might be thinking, I don't know, but that yoga instructor really I think they really don't like me. Like, I think that's what the situation is. That feels like that is real. I think that is a reality. But then, is this a good thought for your well-being? Is this a good thought for your happy wife, happy life? Maybe you could just be like, well, fuck it. Let me try a new thought. Fuck it. Let me try something new. Happy wife, happy life, happy thought, happy life. Let me create a new delusion. This is a better delusion. I like this delusion better because I could just enjoy the rest of my class and just be like, I don't know what she's thinking. This feels a little bit better. I feel more in my body. I'm kind of crazy, maybe, right? Because it doesn't matter if something's right. What matters is you. What matters is your happiness. What matters is your well-being. So are you going to choose that? Are you going to choose her, the happy life? She's like, come on, let's just have a good time. Let's just have a happy life. Can you begrudgingly be like, yeah, maybe I'm crazy.